Hi, welcome to the coaching game.
Yes,
Look
and
look who's here
it's coaches creating change
in
in the
20
new year,
in 2021. Boy,
2021. Who can believe? My goodness,
the good news is we made it, and
we
now
made it.
Terry and I are gonna kind of. Oh, it's Terry Yoffe. I'm sorry. I'm assuming you know who she is. I'm Laurie Lawson, um, and we're gonna just talk about how we're gonna, where we're gonna go from here, because from here is kind of unstable. So we're gonna try to stable it up if indeed we can. So Terry, what are your thoughts about
Oh,
the new year and what we've been through?
you know, I've been thinking about this, and certainly 2021 will not be business as usual. I don't think anyone has a roadmap as to where we're going or what the landscape is going to look like, whether it's, business wise and personal. But what I last year, what I thought about was what are the lessons to be learned? What can I personally learn about myself that I can carry into 2021? What's going to make me more confident? What's going to make me a better person? Um, what what can I give? What more can I give that I didn't give last year? So it's a year of last year was a year of self-reflection. Oh
Excuse
my
me.
goodness. Bless
What
you.
a way to start out the new year. Yes, bless me. Thank you.
Bless you.
So sorry.
Is I think what were the lessons that we took away? Because there certainly were a lot. A lot was demanded of us. How we showed up every day. Did we stay in bed?
Did we show up every day?
Right,
Yeah.
or did we? Correct. So we'll expand upon that, but those were some of my thoughts for um, trying to, what I always like to say, the bridge from last year to this year and crossing it.
Mm.
So, what are your thoughts? What are your
So certainly some of yours. It's like, what lessons did we learn? What changes are we going to make? But a question, I guess, that constantly sort of plagues me and follows me around is like, did I make good use of the time? And,
oh,
and yeah, right. And at some points it was like, wow, am I productive? And thank God for all this time we have off, all this time we have available. And others, and then there's always this nagging little thought, I should be doing more, I should be doing more.
mm,
um and then you go to, but what, so that yes, definitely lessons learned. And what will 2021 bring, and how will I use it even better? Yeah, I guess
yeah,
that's a goal, even
yeah.
better. Yeah.
That's exactly right, and I think that if words, of course, that were bantered around, which we all had to be last year, was flexible,
Mm.
resilient, attributes that had to be kinder,
Yeah.
you know, um, had to be more authentic. Um, and certainly with everybody Zooming or whatever method you use through the computer, how do you communicate? Because more than ever, it's really important to get your message across when you're on a Zoom call. Um, and and the other was grace.
Mm.
So words like that come to mind as to how am I going to carry those purpose into next year? I mean, into this year. It's too early. I say
Too
next year
early.
because it's too early, right?
Well, even
So,
next year we can talk about 2022, but
oh
I'm thinking
gosh,
through
let's not.
2021. Yeah.
Right, right. So I think that those were some of the words that came to mind, and how am I going to utilize them in 2021?
I love those words. Say more about grace. What do you mean by that?
Grace, kindness, caring, um, being grace, I think being more cognizant of the other person,
Mm. Yeah.
um, being kinder. I think, especially for leaders, they've learned a lot of lessons on how to be with their employees, staff. It's not, they couldn't be same old, same old. They had to take into consideration feelings and emotions that normally don't enter, the business world if it was what it was. And just having grace is just being for me. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what comes up for you when you hear that?
Grace, definitely kindness. Grace in, I think also forgiveness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Forgiving yourself for, because
Mm-hmm.
I beat myself up for the first couple of months. Why am I not keeping in contact with all the people that I love and adore?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, because I'm trying to get my stuff together.
Right.
I don't,
Right.
what message am I going to convey?
Right.
But giving yourself a little grace on that, a little forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think just realizing that we are one, we're not alone, we're part of this
Right.
huge
Exactly.
community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And whatever you do to the next person, you're inflicting upon
Mm.
yourself. I think
Yeah.
we saw that with the Black Lives Matter and
Mm-hmm.
all the protest. And it's like everybody, it's like it's time now. It's time to stop those little things that are dividing us and come together. We are in a, I don't know. Are we in a war for humanity? Yeah, I think we
I
might be in a
think
war
so.
for
Yeah.
humanity. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's a great word. Being human,
Yeah,
having more humanity, and I include grace in that as well.
definitely.
Having more humanity. I think that was a great lesson that we all learned in 2020. Um,
It's interesting because I know you work with businesses and
mm,
executives. Did you find that their transition from, oh, it's all about profits and bottom line and all of the important things that were in 2019, did you find they had a hard time transitioning to, oh, let me put a little humanity in there. Let me put a little grace in the way I lead. Or did they eventually come to that recognition,
um,
sorry.
I think that people were very focused on the bottom line because for a lot of companies, the bottom line was evaporated on some level.
Yeah.
And I think it's a combination of seeing the bottom line, but understanding that it's the people that create the bottom line in a lot of ways, and having more respect and caring for the people that work with you or for you, and making sure that everybody is taking care of themselves,
Mm.
um, so that they can show up for work as well. Not to lose sight of that, but when you see that people are working from home, there are people that are single. That's great. They don't have to worry about anybody else. However, if you are have a family and you don't live in a spacious 100,000 square foot house, it's closer quarters. How do you manage that? It's not easy. So you've got the stress of your family. Maybe you have parents that are older, and the stress of working and working in this kind of an environment. So there were many, it was like a movable feast, many movable parts that
Yeah.
all had needed attention.
You know what I love about the other side about that is if you are a single person and you do live alone, then you have to combat lack of connection,
Mm-hmm.
lack of
Mm-hmm.
companion, lack of,
Right.
you're on your own. And boy,
Isolation.
your best friend's going to become yourself. And for some people, that I found with my clients, that was very hard. That was like, oh, where do I go from here? You know, even if you're working from home, you're still working
Right.
in a vacuum,
Right.
and you're
That's
zooming.
exactly right.
But one
That's
thing
true.
I loved about 2020 was that suddenly we realized that essential workers aren't the billionaires, aren't the
Mm.
CEOs. They're
Mm-hmm.
people that we deal with every day.
Right.
They get us our
Right.
groceries, that take care of us, that the nurses, the doctors, you know,
Right.
the essential workers. And I'm not sure where that's going to go. I'm praying that we won't. Teachers, for goodness sakes, teachers. Yes, where do we appreciate teachers? But I don't know where that's going to go. But I hope the memory lasts. That when it comes to survival, when it comes to
Mm.
thriving,
Mm-hmm.
really the folks that are getting paid the least amount usually,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
do-
Right.
they're out there. They're out there while we're home zooming and complaining that, oh,
Right.
we're so
Yeah.
long, you know.
Right.
So I hope that's a lesson that's remembered, because
Yes.
it's one that I keep at the front of my mind
Mm.
at all times. Now it's like, wow. I had someone on the show recently who said his goal is to just go out and talk to an essential worker and just go, "How you doing?" I mean, no, really, how are you doing?
Mm.
Because we never did that before. Now
No.
we care. We
No.
want you to be there. We want
No.
you to realize that we appreciate you. So that was one of my biggest lessons, I think, of 2020.
That's great. And yes, one of the things that we did in the city and probably in other cities as well, every night at 7 o'clock, we all went out and clapped and screamed and banged, to let the essential workers know that they were appreciated and they were cared for and we thought of them. So many things were done, to bring people together in 2020. Um, that a lot of these essential workers that were on the front lines in hospitals, I mean, they gave their lives
Yeah,
truly.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry. For
If I can sneeze, you can do
yeah,
that.
yeah. Um, for the good of the country. And yes, they don't get paid the most, yet they put their lives on the line. Whereas, I had to just show up on a Zoom call or a
Yeah.
telephone call. Um, so that's what I mean by things have changed. I mean, I live in an apartment building, and when you see people, it's how are you? You don't say, how are you doing? It's how's your family?
Mm,
How's your family doing? That was the most important. How are you and how's your family? That
yeah.
would never take place. So
Yeah.
our values, if I go back to core values, I think we're tapping into the core values that mean something, um, on a much deeper level than how's business. Even though that's important,
Oh, definitely. Definitely
it's
important,
a
but
shift.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a shift. Um, and how we bring all of that to this year. How do we as coaches, work with our clients? I mean, I was very fortunate. All my clients were still working.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't struggle on that level. But
Very.
certainly the landscape of their businesses shifted a little bit. And how were they going to navigate it?
Yeah.
But it was still business. I mean, business was business.
Yeah, I agree. Business was business. But I think you're right. I think changes were interjected as we went along, and we realized, oh, this isn't just something we're going to get over in 2 weeks or a
No,
month.
well, we thought that in the
Yeah,
beginning,
yeah, this is
you
long
know.
haul. What are we
Mm,
going to do? How are we going to do
right.
that? I'm in Times Square, and the business is not there. The
No,
tourists
no,
aren't here,
nowhere. Hmm.
and restaurants are fighting closing still, and
Right,
they're trying to
right.
hang in there. But Broadway's maybe September, maybe if we're lucky.
Right.
But
Right.
so
Exactly.
business did change in that sense. Now, some restaurants adapted and they only did takeout, which was
Hmm.
great for people. So I think it's flexibility and creativity. So flexibility is a trait we want to bring to the table. We also want to bring creativity. How
Mm.
are we going to, rather than cling to or wait for the good old days to come back, how are we going to um, use the lessons we learned in
Right.
2020 and bring them forth into 2021 and get back to a life where we can thrive. One of the lessons is, and I think we just talked about it, is what do we take for granted that we won't
Hmm.
take for granted
Mm.
anymore? Um,
Right.
Hugging
Mm.
people,
Right.
it's so
Right.
simple, but boy,
Right.
we don't
Uh-huh.
take it for granted anymore.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on that?
Exactly. What did we take for granted? Everything.
Yeah.
The thing is, we were a country with, happy, dumb people in a way. And I don't mean that,
No,
metaphorically. That, what I think about is last in 2019, had somebody fast forwarded and showed us what what last year would have been like, we would have looked and said, third world country,
yeah, yeah,
somewhere so far out of our realm of possibilities
yeah.
that we would, and if somebody said, well, this is what you're going to look like, we would have laughed. Oh, not here. That would never happen.
No.
So we got a very, in the beginning, we thought it would last a very short time. But as the months progressed, we got a cold water in our faces. Like, wow, we're not even prepared. A country like the US not to be prepared for this. So, and then to look at people and government and we were all under the microscope.
Well, it softened the boundaries between countries too, because it doesn't
Right.
matter if you're,
Mhm.
in Canada and we're in the United States.
Right.
We're all in this
Right.
together.
Exactly.
So really it sort of erased a little or blurred those boundaries at least. But I'm sure you've seen on Facebook, there's many jokes on Facebook, but somebody wrote, I never thought I would live in a time when I wasn't allowed in the bank unless I had a mask on.
Right.
It's totally
Exactly.
reversed our
Exactly.
concept.
Exactly.
So
Right.
getting used to
Mhm.
all that and saying, okay, this is the norm for now, or maybe
Right.
forever, who knows what's going to go on. But so yeah, taking for granted. And then also there were some blessings. Like I
Mm.
can't, I do, don't get me wrong, I do miss that we used to go to the studio and tape
Mm.
because we'd
That's
always have
right.
lunch beforehand
Right.
and talk and guess.
Right.
We don't
Exactly.
get to do that now. But I we get to do the show through Zoom. And we get
Exactly.
to connect with a lot of people that are in some of those countries, rather than wait for them to come to New York. So that's
Right. Exactly. You've been able to
fantastic.
interview and talk to
Yeah.
people all over the globe, which is very nice.
Very nice. And I think for people who maybe didn't connect in the beginning, maybe Zoom has become a blessing for
Hmm.
them. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, there are some people who can't get out, or there are some people who won't go out unless they look perfect and they have the right outfit. Now
Right.
it's like, get on Zoom. Who cares?
Right, exactly. I
Yeah,
mean, I got dressed for the show,
me
but
too.
normally I don't wear any makeup. There's a dressing down which is unencumbered,
Yes.
right? That you can
Authentic. You use the
just
word
be
authentic. It's authentic.
right, right,
We're becoming
exactly.
ourselves. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I've learned one of the things I've learned is to cook. I cook. I never cooked. Now I'm a star cook.
Oh
I
man,
cook
that's so
every
cool.
night.
I want an
Um,
invite when this is all over. I want to
I
taste
will
your cooking.
continue to cook because
Good.
I've learned that I can prepare really good meals and enjoy it.
Hmm.
Also, walking. I did work out, but I never really walked, and now I go out. Yeah, well, it's getting a little cold, but last night I felt like going for a little walk. So I go, to either park and I walk. I walked a lot. So that was something that it just keeps my sanity.
Uh,
So we find things to do that keep us connected, that self-soothes,
mm.
and hopefully that will be part of what we bring to this year.
Yeah, I think so. I think, and you mentioned something so important, self-care.
Mm,
It's like, because we're coaches and we're used to taking care of other people and, helping them through their stuff. And I found that for a while it was like, oh, I'm not sure I can do this. It's like, I'm busy. Do I want to live in New York? Where am I going to go from here? Um, and I finally said, you know what, you got to take care of yourself too. And because you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else. So
no, that's another thing. If you're burnt out, you can, work, get on a Zoom call if you're a team leader,
mm,
and work with others. So
right.
it really has to start with the individual. And I loved one of the words that I found this year, which was um, resilient, strategic resilience
Mm, yeah.
for businesses, which means that you can plan, right? You have a strategy, you're going in a direction, but also being resilient that if you need to shift gears and take another turn, that you can easily do that. That, they used to be, okay, we're going like this, and this is our, we had blinders on, this is how we're going. However, it's not that way anymore because nobody has a roadmap to this year. What's it going to look like? How are we going to do business? Are we going to go back to an office? Are we going to do a hybrid? Are we going to do Zoom? Um, but business got done in spite of everything. Business still continued.
I love that you mentioned, I guess what you're saying is balance. It's, there are times when I'm tempted to just throw my hands up in the air and go, "Ah, why bother? Nobody knows what's around the corner. Let's just, go with the flow." But I think it's also essential that you do plan with flexibility, plan with
Right.
loosely plan. You can't
Hmm.
say, okay, well, Wednesday, this is going to happen.
Right.
Because we don't know, we just don't know anymore. But
Right.
plan with flexibility. It's dream. I think one of my favorite sayings is every a dream needs an Excel sheet. You got
Hmm.
to have some structure under that dream.
Hmm.
But now we have to, which we didn't before. It was like full steam ahead. Well, I'll do this, and here's my plan, my 1-year plan, my 2-year plan. Now we've got to have a little bit of leeway, a little bit of
Right.
flexibility,
Right.
and
Right.
loose boundaries just to keep us on target. But
You're right.
that's a lesson. That's a lesson I
Yeah.
think we all have to learn.
Also, I think words that I didn't talk about were faith and courage.
Yeah.
I think we had to have faith, and still do, that things will work out. I don't think things will be what they were, so don't bother looking in the rearview mirror because that's not happening.
Right.
But looking ahead, looking forward, and even creating your own roadmap. Okay, what do I want to do for for this coming year? How am I going to run a business? But having the flexibility and the faith and the
Mm.
courage to say, you know what, I'm not going in the direction I want to go, and having the courage to make the shift and change.
That's interesting. Do you think individuality has um, been pushed aside or come to the forefront with the result of all this?
Um, I think maybe it's a combination,
Okay. Okay.
not, individuality combined with togetherness, because you can't go it alone. And we saw that last year.
Right.
We couldn't go it alone. Yet we developed an individuality of how each of us dealt with it
Wow,
in a
that's
way.
so cool. That is so cool what you just said. Yeah.
And I think moving forward, I think people have realized it takes a village,
Thank you, Hillary. Yes.
yeah, to make something happen. And I'm sure that happened in business, that leaders had to rally the troops
Yeah.
when maybe the troops weren't, were feeling depressed.
Had to rally and nurture and
Right.
support. Yeah.
That's
Whereas
exactly
before it
right.
was just like, okay, be in the meeting room and
Right.
get this
Right.
done.
Exactly.
Now it's like,
Rally,
yeah.
nurture. They had to be a combination, cheerleader, leader,
Hmm.
mother figure. But foremost, they had to take their people into consideration.
Yeah. And I think emotional intelligence was come
Right.
has been in the
Exactly.
forefront for, a couple of decades, really. But I think this time it was in the forefront and a beautiful concept. And boy, we all had these meetings but I think now we had to put it into practice. It's like, oh, what is this emotional
Right.
intelligence and how are we going to use it? And how are we going to combine it with our business? And watching that happen was kind of, and still is kind of an experiment and an evolution and almost a revolution. It's like, wow, things, maybe our priorities are shifting a little, and that was just fun to see that come about.
Yes. And I think that, um, again, people wanted to hear the truth. People
Mm,
didn't want, they didn't look to the leaders to kind of gloss over things. They needed to hear the truth.
right.
And that was being authentic, that was being real. Leaders really had to step up and perhaps be and do things they might not have done in the past.
Yeah, yeah,
How about leaders that had to fire people? I mean, a lot of times they did it over Zoom.
yeah, yeah.
They had no choice.
Well, I'm going to stop because we only have 30 seconds
Oh
left.
my
We've
gosh.
got, I know, we're just running. I have to say, Miss Terry Yoffe, I am thrilled that we are ringing in the new year
We
together.
are,
And I look forward to a lot more coaches creating change
yes.
2021.
Happy
So
New Year. Happy
happy New Year to
2021.
everybody and hang in there. We're going to do
Coaches
the same.
creating change. That's what you're here for.
That's what we're doing. All right.
Yeah.
Take
Bye,
care.
Lori.
Bye, Terry. Talk to you soon.
Yes.